You are a cannabis company, an ancillary cannabis company that lists on the NASDAQ. In addition, you're also a tobacco company with distribution in North America, Europe, and Asia. You announced earlier this week your latest earnings. So when we dive into those numbers, it includes a 30.7% increase in overall sales, climbing to 41.7 million. And of that 41.7 million, 19.5 million coming from cannabis hardware revenue, which is AKA vaping products, which you've indicated, 149% rise from the previous quarter. So are we seeing a shift in consumer confidence in this overall vaping industry, knowing the uncertainty that's surrounded over the past couple of years? Hey everyone, welcome to our latest Trade to Black podcast. We always like it when we hear cannabis companies listing on the NASDAQ. Well, our next guest has exactly that. It's a company that's both in cannabis and tobacco, lists on the NASDAQ, and has been growing at a very aggressive rate over the past 2 years, and they released their latest earnings. So let's welcome in the co-CEO of Ispire Technology, which trades on the NASDAQ under the ticker symbol ISPR, Michael Wang to the podcast. Good to meet you, and how are things?
Wonderful, Chad. How are you?
I'm good. Busy week for you guys, to say the least. But what do you make of this whole cannabis industry here in 2024? Because I know we can talk about rescheduling and some things we can control and can't control, but that would be a huge step in the right direction with the already overarching growth that your company is experiencing right now.
Shad, as you know, we certainly benefit from the growth in the cannabis industry. However, you are right. Our growth rate far surpass the general growth rate of the vaping sector.
Yep.
That's really largely a result of our, I would say, technology and products. You are familiar with the space.
Yes.
The vaping industry for cannabis, especially the oil formulation and the composition aspect, has evolved nonstop in the last 3-4 years, right?
Yeah,
just a short 4 years ago, distillate oil was like the standard. And then we moved into live resin, then live rosin today. Every evolution would require essentially new solutions and new technology. I feel most of our competitors just couldn't keep up with the change, not to mention leading the change, right?
Well, both you and I know a lot of change need to be happening in this space. There's a lot of uncertainty riding around the vaping industry, knowing what happened with Juul a couple of years ago, the FDA basically outlining there are certain toxicology requirements that weren't met. But we'll get into that a little bit later. I do want to talk about, just to set things up accordingly with our audience. You are a cannabis company, an ancillary cannabis company that lists on the NASDAQ. In addition, you're also a tobacco company with distribution in North America, Europe, and Asia. You announced earlier this week your latest earnings. So when we dive into those numbers, it includes a 30.7% increase in overall sales, climbing to 41.7 million. And of that 41.7 million, 19.5 million coming from cannabis hardware revenue, which is AKA vaping products, which you've indicated, 149% rise from the previous quarter. So explain to us, as I've said, are we seeing a shift in consumer confidence in this overall vaping industry, knowing the uncertainty that's surrounded over the past couple of years?
I would say it's less about confidence, Shad. It's more about consumer behaviors. If you look at the growth of the cannabis industry, the one sector that grew faster than the rest is vaping. Obviously, vaping brings a great deal of convenience, right? And I would say discretion to the cannabis industry. Smoking a joint publicly or smoking a joint in front of your children, it simply do not work. But on the other hand, if you have a vape pen, and especially if you can pick the type of oil you like, you can really do it discreetly in a family setting, in a public setting. So that's why the vaping sector grew much, much faster than the overall cannabis industry.
Where do you see this growing over the next 3 years? Because as you said, it's all about you know, like you said, you don't want to be in public smelling, stinking, drawing awareness and attention towards you for all the wrong reasons. But like you said, with vaping pens, and I see it firsthand with a lot of conferences that we're at and people are outside, inside, it's as if like you don't even know what they're doing next to you. But that's an important thing for a consumer. But, you know, like how much do you see this growing, especially as, you know, the destigmatized, you know, perception of cannabis, and if it is rescheduled, this is going to become a major CPG industry.
Indeed, absolutely. By our estimate and by consensus among the industry peers, we all believe right now vaping as percentage of retail sales for cannabis is right about 30%.
Okay.
You know, that's a fast rise from just 5% a short 7-8 years ago. By all indication, within the next 2-3 years, vaping as a percentage of retail cannabis sales would approach 50%.
Wow.
That's telling, right? Just a short couple years ago, flower sales accounted for half of the total retail sale. So that trend is unstoppable right now.
Yeah, the industry's evolving, to say the least. What's your background? Like, how'd you get involved in the space, and how are you like so sophisticated when it comes to like the numbers don't lie? Your hardware is selling and selling aggressively. So, like, what's your background, and why is it that, you know, some of the key contributors as to why you're experiencing success with the product that you're providing?
As far as my background, Shad, I was an engineer by training. That helps. And most recently, before Ispire, I was a co-CEO of a cannabis company. We were a vertically integrated company from growing to wholesale to manufacturing to retail. We did it all. In the process, as we were launching live resin products, we realized that no one, period, provided the hardware that would work extremely well with our oil. So out of desperation, I went to look for the right people who could create the product for us. I ended up meeting with a gentleman nicknamed Godfather of e-cigarette.
Okay.
So spoke with him, and he came back with a solution that literally was perfect for our oil. And that led to our collaboration, eventually the creation of the Ispire part of the Ispire Technology business, targeting the cannabis space. So, and I'm not alone. Within our company, especially our US operations, 100% of the people working here had historical cannabis experience.
Right.
So they are connected, they understand the industry's pinpoints, and therefore, you know, combining our founders' technical know-how, technology expertise, and our team's cannabis expertise, that became unstoppable.
Wow.
If you look at all the other competitors, they are largely factories from China. Sitting in a factory, you can only imagine what the industry needs, right?
Well, that circulates the uncertainty of the industry, right? When Juul ran into problems and all the black market product that came in from China, it killed a lot of the momentum that was like developing, like, you know, in the vaping space. But I do want to highlight, like, you guys just announced earlier this month, a 31,000 square foot facility that's going to be in Malaysia. It is an ISO and GMP certified facility. So explain why Malaysia, and I guess the way you're designing a lot of your hardware as to how it answers any concerns as to what we faced, obviously, in previous times related to this industry.
Shad, I'll answer your second question first regarding consumer protection. That is absolutely top. You know, on top of everything we do. And from day one, we launched our product with glass and stainless steel versus plastic. That was with consumer safety in mind. And in the last year and a half, we have been looking to develop technologies to protect consumers. Essentially, what we have been doing, on one hand, is really to protect brands.
Yeah.
Because as you know, anytime a brand becomes successful, counterfeiters will jump in, right? And floods market with illicit products. And we have to protect our branded partners.
Yeah.
So we launched a blockchain-based technology for authentication. This way, when consumers receive the device, they will get a notification automatically. This particular device is authentic brand A product, and instead of a counterfeiter's product. So that led to us launching our, you saw in the last couple of days, launching our joint venture with a technology partner and a consultancy. And we created a joint venture to address just that. As you know, Juul didn't help the evolution of the e-cig industry because it marketed to minors. And FDA is absolutely concerned about minors getting their hands on the e-cigarette and vaping devices. So the joint venture is really to develop a blockchain-based age gating technology, Shad, not just age verification, but age gating. What's the difference? Age gating essentially will have the device controlled by the age verification software.
Smart.
Yeah. So you cannot use a vaping device at all unless you go through that verification process. This way, it knows you're old enough, and number two, you are indeed who you say you are. Only that was the device power on.
Whose idea was that to come up with that? Like, have you spoken to government officials about the idea, and what's been some of their feedback based off it?
Certainly, it's collaboration. FDA officials' guidelines and comments certainly helped us. They have been looking for a point of use protection technology, right? Only at a point of use can truly provide protection. Yeah. Otherwise, people can still purchase the product through adult and then somehow use it as minor. So this is critically important for FDA. On the other hand, we have been working with several technology providers for a secure and safe method, and we found one. So that's why we created the joint venture just now.
So a lot of the product before was plastic. You're saying your product is now stainless steel, you said, correct?
Yeah, we have been very focused on consumer safety. We generally don't use plastic. We generally stick to stainless steel and glass. Yeah. As you know, these two materials are the safest. They don't get broken down by, say, very corrosive terpenes, whether it's botanical terpenes or cannabis terpenes. Yeah. Terpenes are the most corrosive materials. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I do think this overall industry, everybody's quick to get out of the gate, but not built the right way. Like when you're building a product like that, you're obviously going to incur some costs that'll be more expensive than, say, plastic, but you got to do it obviously the right way. When we look at some of these costs that you have incurred, are you seeing, like, when I look at some of the revenue growth, yes, the revenue growth has obviously been very aggressive and great growth over the last couple of years. Bottom line, not so much, but are we at a time, or are we approaching a time where the increase in revenue will align with the growth rate in net income?
Yes, Shad, we are getting closer. I shared with investors our revenue projection for the year. And in talking to investors, obviously, profitability is of concern to them. We have publicly shared that at the rate we are going, the next couple of quarters will turn us into a profitable organization. Okay. But right now, profitability is important, but it's not single most important to us. We do want to develop and launch several key technologies that will position not only our company, but the joint venture as well as industry in a safe and secure fashion. So that's one. Secondly, we certainly have several other top important and critical growth opportunities ahead of us. Like you said, Burna Boy announcement was a major indication for where we are headed, right?
Yeah.
So there are some strategic growth opportunities we don't want to compromise just over, say, a short-term profitability. We really feel we have a chance to do something great rather than just being a mediocre performer.
Yeah. Well, you brought up Burna Boy. This is a Nigerian singer and songwriter. He's got, I think, over 40 million followers across all social platforms. He's linked with people like Snoop Dogg. Talk about the collaboration that you're working with him, and then more importantly, like how I guess the overall partnership first was introduced, and I guess more importantly, why he likes your company.
Yeah, how we were introduced, obviously, as you know very well, the cannabis industry is a small circle.
Very small.
Literally, everybody knows everybody.
Yes.
And if you are good, you are ethical, you perform well, and everybody will know about it. If you do the opposite, and everybody will know about it as well, right? So we are very careful about our performance and therefore our reputation in the industry.
Right.
Through working with many other brands, we created a network of, I would say, very trusting brands toward us, and words got out. Before you know it, we were approached by many celebrities.
Wow.
Burna Boy was introduced to us by another industry contact, and it didn't take long for us to be valued strategy-wise and, more importantly, value-wise. Burna Boy actually truly cares about young people using tobacco.
Yeah.
And he made it a mission to help people getting off of smoking cigarette and also preventing minors from using cigarette.
Gotcha.
Now, as you know, Shad, e-cigarette, if done right, it can help protecting consumer health, right? Smoking combustibles, no matter how you look at it, it's causing more carcinogens, in our body. But vaping, when done right, it's just heated. It's not burned. It causes far less damage to the health. Granted, e-cig includes nicotine as a key component.
Right.
But nicotine will provide, from that point of view, same experience as combustibles. But going through vaping, you will certainly reduce carcinogens in the user's body. So that's a big health benefit. So he was trying to help, and in a way, the creation of e-cig by our founder was another shared reason. That is to help consumers get off of combustible tobaccos. So instant alignment in value, and of course, our technology helped further in this relationship. Before you know it, we decided to work together.
What's the key vaping device that you have, both for cannabis and tobacco?
We obviously tobacco nicotine oil is generally very different from the cannabis oil, cannabinoids, right? So hardware will have to be designed very differently accordingly. Just as an example, Shad, in the early days, 4 years ago, when I was a co-CEO of Sunday Goods, the cannabis company, and we realized that all the hardware, vaping hardware available on the market, burned the oil. Because why? They were designed for e-cig, e-juice, and therefore they are generally too hot for cannabis oil. That's why they burn cannabis oil.
Gotcha.
As you know, when you burn the oil, the health benefit is partially eliminated.
Right.
But on the other hand, the Chinese factories just didn't know better, right? That's
and this
why.
This is what's given a tainted image for the industry, right?
Yeah. So that's why we designed our cannabis vaping hardware specifically for the cannabis oil.
Interesting.
Depending on the brand oil formulation, we can adjust it accordingly. So the performance is always optimized versus, here you go. Here's a device, use it. No, well, it doesn't work that way. It's not the best way.
Yeah. We live and we learn, don't we, Michael?
Yeah.
That's just the reality. I did say off the top, in addition to cannabis, also tobacco. It is actually most of the current revenue that you're producing right now, but cannabis revenue has grown 20 times in the last 2 years. Tobacco has grown about 20%. When I look at Statistica, which is basically an economic database company, they've projected that tobacco sales will grow around 2% over the next 5 years. You're at 20. So how do you sustain, I guess, that growth trajectory over the next, 3 to 5 years in tobacco?
Yeah, on the tobacco side, our current products, Shad, are what we call legacy products.
Okay.
We designed the legacy product with environmental consideration in mind. Therefore, our devices are traditionally called open systems.
Okay.
That means as a consumer, you could go to the vape shop or smoke shop to buy your preferred oil. And then you come home, you fill our devices with your oil. So in a way, it's a reusable device. It's really generating very little waste. And only after so many uses would you need to replace just one component, the heating coil in the device. So it's really economical. It's environmentally friendly. That was the original, in a way, strategy. Of course, as you know, in the last 6-7 years, disposable e-cigarette, disposable cannabis vaping devices became the dominating factor.
Yeah.
So our traditional products, in a way, became a niche product. Granted, it's a very good niche because there is a diehard group of followers who are saying, we don't want e-waste. We don't want e-waste, so they are embracing our products. However, as a company, we need to address consumer demand.
Yes.
We need to address investor returns. So we are now expanding our tobacco product into disposables and pod systems. So starting with Burna Boy, we are launching a global disposable line as well as a pod system line. So that will be our beachhead, I guess, into the disposable space. In the meanwhile, on the US side, US domestic side, as you know, there is a PMTA requirement. We are going to apply for PMTA approval for our disposable and pod systems using the age gating technology I described earlier.
Gotcha.
So,
and if approved, what does that do for you?
If it's approved, obviously it will create immediate revenue opportunity for us in the $80 billion US e-cig business. $80 billion in size. That's how large the US e-cig market is. And currently, without FDA's PMTA green light, you cannot legally sell in the stores, convenience stores. So as you can imagine, currently in the US, there are only 3-4 products approved by FDA. So if we get the approval, obviously there's a tremendous opportunity in the US market for us.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, I was looking at your distribution platform, you're in 30 different countries. And I think, it's, probably worth noting in some of the countries that you're in, to give a comparison as to like e-cigarettes and smoking in general, the percentage of smokers in, like, say, when you look at Asia and some of the Muslim Asian countries as well, Europe, I do know the percentage is quite a bit higher when it comes to smokers versus in North America. But what are some of the stats that you could share in comparison to some of those countries versus here in North America?
A great question there. You are totally right. Generally speaking, outside of North America, there is a higher percentage of smoking population. And that's why our open systems actually is embraced so much more in those regions. Because as you know, some smokers truly care about the flavor. So for them to switch from smoking a cigarette to e-cigarette, the flavor, what we call the flavor recovery, will have to almost resemble a traditional combustible cigarette.
100%.
Yeah. Otherwise, they are not going to switch. So in those markets, that's why our hardware is so powerful, because they can literally simulate smoking a traditional cigarette. And that's important to us. On one hand, we do see e-cigarette as off-ramp for smokers, and a lot of smokers want to use e-cigarette as off-ramp.
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
Yeah, by providing open systems to them, they will have the ability to gradually reduce the nicotine percentage in the oil they use. Then they can get themselves off of smoking or dependency on nicotine, right? So there is a huge benefit in this market. Plus, because it's economical, it's easier for most countries to adapt the technology. As you mentioned, heavy smoking, Southeast Asian countries, those consumers embrace our technology because it's cheaper and easier to, let's say, to afford. But you are right. In Europe, it's a different story. Even though European countries can afford to buy disposable devices, however, as you know, the European consumers and governments, by and large, are far more environmentally concerned than North Americans. So that's why the UK government recently banned disposable e-cigarette.
They did.
And the French government did the same thing. By all indication, the whole EU will ban disposable e-cigarette in the coming month and year. So that's telling. So that's why reusable devices will be in high demand there.
Well, listen, the numbers don't lie. I know when we have CEOs come on, they talk about the potential. I think investors and viewers want to see actual real dollars, which you're doing right now, which is incredible. Your list on the NASDAQ. What is some of the dialogue and conversations that you've had with institutional investors on your story?
Oh, well, I think the general feedback on our approach to PMTA in age gating is absolutely positive.
Yeah.
Not a single investor would not embrace that idea.
Yeah.
So that's number one. Number two, we are concerned about consumer safety by using, say, product authentication using a blockchain technology. Is also embraced by not only brands, but consumers and investors.
It's very
because after all, we care about the industry, we care about the space, we care about the consumer safety. If there are always bad actors in this space, it will destroy this otherwise very, very important industry.
Yeah. Well, we live in a day and age where everybody wants to have their own property. And with the blockchain technology, it allows that. And it's just what consumers want. It's like the buying trends. And that's something that is pivoting with the time. It's crazy how the blockchain has changed so many different industries, to say the least. But it's really smart and clever. I'm sure you've gotten a lot of positive feedback regarding that.
Yeah, indeed. Absolutely. Because historically, there were smart tags, there were QR code, there were paper certificates attached to each product, but every single one of such solution can be copied.
Yes,
can be counterfeited. No one can counterfeit a blockchain-based solution. So that's the safest way.
How does it work? Most U.S. companies are charged 25% tariffs when they bring product from China over to North America. having a facility in Asia and Malaysia, how does that work? Do you avoid that or do you bypass that?
Malaysia was a very important decision for us as we were looking for a location for our manufacturing operations.
Yeah,
we thought about many things. Obviously, geopolitical risks was a key consideration.
yeah, of course.
On that front, Malaysia is called the Switzerland of Asia, in that it doesn't want to have any particular alliance with any particular nation on anything. So it is friendly toward every country. And so that's really a key consideration for us. So in events of, let's say, any geopolitical conflicts, Malaysia will be isolated from it. It will be a safe harbor. So that's one consideration.
Which is I'm sure that question gets brought up quite a bit with their past, right?
Yes, and tariff import duty shed was a consideration, but not the most important consideration.
Yeah. When I looked, there was a stat actually this morning. Bloomberg today projected that a 9% increase in the Malaysian ringgit, otherwise known as the country's currency, by the end of this year. So a 9% increase by the end of this year. What this means, if currency goes up, so would your costs. So how do you manage that over time?
That's great observation there. Thank you for bringing it up. Efficiency is a key. Wherever we do business, we focus on doing it the right way. So Malaysian operations is no exception. As we talked earlier, Malaysian operation is in place partially to help us gain gross margin. Because it's wholly owned by Ispire Technology, we will be able to capture the whole vertical margin, right? By sourcing products from other contract factories, they get to keep some margin. We only get to keep some margin. Gotcha. So Malaysia will certainly boost our gross margin. In the process, of course, we know too, we have to be competitive. And like you said, there is a currency issue we have to deal with. There is a labor cost issue in any countries we have to deal with. So we have been very careful about that. So automation is a key, Shad.
Yes.
Automation is the only solution to cost issue. Yeah. So phase one of our Malaysian operation is going to be mainly manual operation, but phase two will be semi-automated, leading to full automation. Wherever we do things, including in our US operation, we will eventually install several production lines in the US. Some people may say, why in the US? We are confident we can make the product cost competitive in the US because we will use automation. Yeah. And typically, I will share one example with you, Shad. One particular product line that we have can produce product with only one operator. This operator just need to load the components. That's all. Need to watch the line going smoothly. You can imagine with only one operator pumping out 8,000 units an hour out of production line, we can be cost competitive and still have the product made in the US. Malaysia will be no exception. Automation is a key. That's the only way to get around fluctuation in currency. Right?
The currency has been rather volatile, but automation is everything. And if you know somebody or you want to know somebody that does really good automation, I've got the right guy for you.
All right.
Anyways, but this is all good. And I think ultimately, I think what a lot of people are interested is like, there's real revenue that's being produced here. These aren't projections. Like these are actually the rapid growth listing on the NASDAQ. Last question I'll ask you, if we indeed, as you've probably been following the space, how does this help you if we get an announcement within the next 30, 60 days or whatever the timeline is, if we announce rescheduling cannabis?
Obviously, we would love that news. We would embrace it.
Me too.
Me too. The whole industry has been waiting for this day, as you know. And obviously that will be a monumental moment for humanity as well.
Yes,
I think a lot of countries have been thinking about legalizing cannabis. If the U.S. federal government, DEA, etc., would make that move, I think it will change the world.
yes, yeah. I
It will
think,
be great for humanity.
yeah.
Of course, good for the business, but I am more grateful and pleased with this news for human purpose rather than business purpose.
I'm gonna have to send you my address. I want a couple of those vaping devices and
All right,
get
yeah.
that on our podcast. We've had a few people reach out to us and send them some, but good for you to build the product the right way. I understand, obviously, the bottom line. Those days will come, but man, your revenue is really increasing, and the numbers don't lie. If people are enjoying it, then the numbers are showing. I know consensus in your last quarter, it fell a little bit short, but ultimately, I think you had mentioned in the earnings call that a lot of it had to do with some holiday seasons. I think there was a China's holiday season where things were shut down for a period of time. But when we look out, and this is what we try to educate our viewers on, let's not get fixated on 1 or 2 months. Let's look at the next 3 to 5 years. Somebody asks you where this company is going to be in 3 to 5 years. What do you say?
In 3 years, Shad, I think we will be approaching $1 billion in revenue.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. And I think our legacy product will continue to grow at a healthy pace, but the real growth will come from our cannabis sector and our global e-cig partnerships, like the ones with Snoop Dogg and Burna Boy. I think that will drive significant revenue. I think in 5 years, we should exceed $2 billion in revenue.
You can understand why investors are taking note. Michael, appreciate the time. I know you had a busy week, but most importantly, let's keep in touch.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
Have a good day.
You too. Hey everyone, so how are you surviving these tough market conditions right now? Are there any emerging industries that you want us to cover? Any guests that you want us to interview? Then leave a comment below and let us know who you want us to source out. As usual, share this video with your network, smash that like and notification bell, and as usual, and most importantly, subscribe to our channel because we would not be here without you. Thanks for watching, everyone.